Good afternoon, everyone. Love that there's already some people in the comments. Hey there, Brent. Hey, Sarah. Hey, Thomas as well. I see you're hanging out with Sarah, of course, right now, side by side. I love family time around the weekend cruiser. Always great to see you guys. Thank you. I am here on the group cruise. Oh, Adam Furman. It is a group cruise reunion going on. So we did have a wonderful time on our group cruise, and so always glad to see everybody kind of joining and cheering me on. It's always a lot of fun, and I know many of you are signed up for our next group cruise as well. So we'll cover that off here in a little bit. So we'll give it a little bit of time for people to join. But while we're doing that, you all know that I love starting the comments and the chat section up with a question. And so I'm curious today, what is your favorite Royal Caribbean private island? So is it Labadee, Haiti, or is it Coco Cay? Perfect Day Coco Cay at the Bahamas. Which one do you prefer? It's interesting. When I think about the answer to this for myself, I've not been to Labadee that much. I think I've been to Labadee less than 5 times probably because the weekend cruises don't go to Labadee. They don't make it all the way down to Haiti. We have enough time to get to the Bahamas and to come back to Florida. And so most of my time has been spent at Coco Cay. Tony, only been to Labadee. I can throw up some comments. I always forget that this is a pretty cool feature. So I'm still getting used to this new software that I got that allows me to stream now. But it's pretty neat that I can pop comments on up there as you all chime in. Awesome. Where else do you all like? Is there, I don't think there's another private island that's open yet. I know there's been rumors on the different coast where, like one in Asia and things of that nature. And we're going to talk about one of the new, I'll call it private island, the Beach Club coming up. So we're going to chat through that. George in Atlanta, I see you love the Labadee is your spot. Not a bad spot. For me, my favorite is probably just going to be Coco Cay because I know it so well. Though when I go to Labadee, it's kind of like a little vacation from a vacation, if you will. So when I'm there, I'm trying to do new things, I'm relaxing, and it's more of a classic private island without, the water park and the large pool. And I kind of miss having some of those options, but I think there's something to be said for getting into a relaxing state of mind as well, which I always enjoy. Excellent. So I know we've got a few people in the section now, but for whatever reason, it's not really showing me that anybody is watching, but you all are responding to the comments. So thumbs up if you can hear me and see me. I don't know why it's saying nobody is viewing. It makes me sad. Hopefully, you all can hear the sound of my voice and I have not done anything wrong. You can see and hear me. If I could get somebody just to comment real quick. It could also just be my connection. So we're going to talk a little bit about Wi-Fi speeds as well, being here in Nassau, Bahamas today. And looks like I got a thumbs up from Tony. Thank you. So I'm going to carry on. Hopefully the signal continues to carry through. But I got a few things that I want to cover with everyone today. So cruise news. And I got a request to do like a cruise news segment a while ago. And this is the first time I think that I've set out with the intent of doing a cruise news section, but they were two big events that happened this week that I wanted to talk about that makes me scratch my head a little bit. And, I do a lot of education stuff. So you all know that I love educating people who may be first timers to Royal Caribbean or to one of the other cruise lines, or maybe you're a frequent floater, as we like to call ourselves. I love doing content for you as well. A lot of educational stuff just to keep us all informed and know what to expect when we go on our cruise vacation. Today's going to be a little bit different from that probably. I'm going to do some opinion pieces. I don't throw my opinion out there too terribly often, but I figured if I'm doing a cruise news segment, I can't just come up here and report the news. It will go very, very quick. So I'm going to give my opinion on a couple of these. So we're going to talk about, I'm dubbing it the kissing magician over in Australia. We're going to talk about the Royal Caribbean Beach Club at Paradise Island in Nassau. We're going to go over some Wi-Fi speeds and things that I'm hearing that are out there. And then at the end, I'm going to switch more to a deal alert, especially for you solo cruisers out there. If you want to save money on a weekend cruise, stay tuned to the end. I'm going to tell you where you can go to do that coming up. So quick, friendly reminders to everyone. So the merchandise store is officially live. So I am excited to have the merchandise store out there. I've even got my little, I brought him with me, the official Weekend Cruiser plush teddy bear, if you will. I think that, you know, people take toys around with them and take pictures with them. I'm thinking he might become a new face that you all see often on the Instagram page. So if you're not following me on Instagram, the Weekend Cruiser there as well. But think I might just start throwing him around in different settings. And the only other thing I brought with me this time was the Weekend Cruiser trucker hat. Apparently I've heard from one of my friends, trucker hats are coming back in style. But this is one that I have that I've designed. Fits really well. It's not that terribly hot today in Nassau, but I did go upstairs to watch a movie at 11 o'clock today, and definitely the hat came in handy. So very excited to have that over there. The other thing that I want to call out is the inaugural cruise or weekend cruise for the Allure of the Seas. So I am excited to have a group cruise going for the Allure of the Seas on November 3rd of this year, so 2023. It is a weekend sailing, so it is leaving Friday, coming back first thing on Monday morning, going to Nassau as well as to the Perfect Day at Coco Cay. That place I was just mentioning, I go all the time and that it's beautiful. So if you want to join us, make sure you're filling out the Jot form down below. That's going to let our travel agent Rondo to get in touch with you and give pricing. We have good space left, and there's some refundable room rates that you can get that are just about the same price as the non-refundable. So go ahead and lock in your group cruise attendance so that you know that you got it, and if you can't make it, it's refundable, and you can honestly get out of it. I won't take it personally, I promise. I'm going to be sad if you need to back out, but I'm not going to take it personally. Trust me, I have canceled a many of cruise in my day, so I totally get that. So jumping into it, let's see, look at the comments. Hello from Wilmington. So Doug, I've got a few North Carolinians on here. I know that there's one special one from Goldsboro, North Carolina on here. My mom is tuning in. And we've got a lot of family over in Wilmington as well. So I kind of grew up going over to Monkey Junction. So glad to have you with us today. And Nancy, thank you for the cute bear. He is really adorable and super small, so I don't mind packing him because he doesn't take up any space, and I probably can squish him a little bit. And George saying that he loves the Allure of the Seas. It is a wonderful ship. It is massive, though, and so I'm going with this with bated breath, if you will. So I'm excited that she's going to start doing weekend sailings. I'm not sure that she's the ideal fit for me or ship, but I know she's going to do wonderful in Port Canaveral. And by the way, when she's done in Port Canaveral and she's put in her time, she's going to come down and replace Freedom of the Seas out of Miami, and will start being my home ship middle of next year, I think is when that's going to kick in 2024. So will be interesting to see how that plays out. Brent is asking, is it playing for anyone? Is that the visual that you're going for there, Brent? Awesome. Glad that it is working, not buffering. Brent, looks like, according to Adam, you need to refresh the screen. Could be the way that I came into it if you were in the waiting room, but glad you picked up on that it wasn't working for you. So press that refresh key, and I'll see you back here in 1 second. Thanks everyone for the heads up and the help there. So let's talk through some of these. So we've got our first one that I've dubbed the Kissing Magician out of Australia. Now he was sailing on the Quantum of the Seas with what's probably a very strong Australian population, and he seems to be a very strong magician in the Australia circuit. His name was Ben Murphy, if any of you have seen him or follow him. And so I know, how many of you have actually heard this story or seen it come across in the news? Let me know in the comments if you've seen this one. But for those of you that have not seen this story in the news, there's even a video that you can click on to see the actual episode happen, unfortunately, or fortunately, it depends on how you look at it. But the magician does a kissing trick or magic trick. And so what he does is he calls for a female participant to come up on the stage. Hint, if there's a magician, comedian, we've got a hypnotist on Liberty of the Seas right now, don't sit in the front row. If you don't want to be called up to the stage, it's probably just better not to do that. But he asked for volunteers, and this woman went up to the stage to be part of this trick, in which he gives her a card, sticks it in her mouth, and so it's going to hang out of her mouth. I mean, it's going to stick out. And then he's going to come down for, I'm using air quotes again, a kiss, because he really doesn't kiss her, but does get very close. He then finds a way to switch the card in her mouth and give her, a different card, or one of the original cards that were in the deck that she needed to see. And so he comes in and, would get very close to her, like he's going to kiss her, but he doesn't actually kiss the people, you all. Like, that's not part of the act, and most people know that. However, in this particular instance, there was a gentleman that was sitting in the audience as well who didn't appreciate what was happening on stage. I don't know the relationship between the woman and this gentleman, but I gotta imagine, that they were in a relationship of some kind, because he saw this kissing magic trick getting ready to happen and decided to rush the stage, jumped up on the stage, and pushed the comedian out of the way and completely to the ground. I can only imagine what it would be like to be in the audience for that to have happened. The comedian actually went on with his show. He was able to somehow or another pull it back together and continue his show. So kudos to him for doing that. But this episode just makes me scratch my head, and I have so many questions. And so I wanted to come and talk to you all about some of those questions. So first of all, what are the chances that you think that this gentleman had the drink package? Show of hands in the chat section or the comment. Was the drink package probably involved here? I know for other episodes that I've seen, there has certainly been a drink package involved, or at least somebody was drinking more than they probably should have and not making conscious decisions. And Thomas is coming in saying it sounds like the Oscar slap. So it kind of was. I mean, it's interesting. The timing of this happened, I think, the week before the Oscars, when we were all reminiscing about Will Smith and his time up there. But yes, it was very reminiscent of that. The other thing that, I kind of think through is, did the woman that went on stage know that this person was somebody who would likely do this, that would be jealous, or, had that maybe, let's say, controlling streak, and would not want this to happen? I wonder if she had any inkling that, oh gosh, like, I'm really setting myself up. In the video, she looks like she's having a great time. She looks happy. So it doesn't appear to me that, she is thinking that this is not going to end well, that, I've got a boyfriend, partner, husband out in the audience who is not going to like me doing this. She seemed to be absolutely fine with it. And so I just kind of got to think, was she thinking about that? And, so to me, it kind of seems like this may have been the first time this gentleman has ever done something like this, because I saw no reaction from her up until it happened. And so I'm thinking that she probably, was thinking that this was all good and great, harmless fun, and for some odd reason, this gentleman did not seem to think the same exact thing. And it brings to issue, a few things when we think of what happens on the high seas. And this made national news. It made Australian papers, BBC, it made the New York Times. It went everywhere, because anything we do these days is captured on film, as I'm pretty aware at this point. But, the entertainer, Ben, was making some allegations at RCL, and I can't confirm or deny anything that he's saying, but what was coming out was that the person that pushed him to the ground, that rushed the stage, it appeared that there were no consequences for this gentleman for that act of assault, as Ben was calling it, to push him to the ground. Which seems a little odd to me. You would think that if somebody rushed the stage, went after one of the performers, an actor, whether it was a bartender, stateroom attendant, whatever have you, you think that there would be consequences of some kind. And he was also stating that, the cruise line was saying that there's no witnesses to what happened. Clearly there's a video of what happened, and it is a room full of people. It is a comedian on a cruise ship. There was probably at least 200 to 300 people that watched this happen. But all that aside, I don't know if all that's true or not, But what it brings to mind for me is how the cruise lines are continually scrutinized for their lack of data and reporting on what happens on the cruise ships. So this made a lot of news probably 2 or 3 years ago. Actually, it would have been longer than that. COVID, 3 or 4 years ago, where people were talking about sexual assaults or things that happen on cruise ships and wanting to know how safe are cruise ships. There's just not a lot of good data out there because they're in international waters. There's not a true reporting agency that they necessarily have to go to. So if you wanted to go to a local city, if you were thinking about moving and going to a city and you wanted to pull up the crime rate in that area, you can do that. If you were looking at going onto a cruise ship in international waters and you wanted to see what the crime rate was aboard a cruise ship, you're not going to be able to really find that data. If you know where it is, let me know in the comments. I'd love to see and delve into some of this, but I don't really think that anything is there for us to be able to pull from. So it's kind of an unfortunate situation with what happens at sea stays at sea. Whether it's a good memory, it's a bad memory, it doesn't often make it back to land. Every now and again, I see people, walked off the ship by the sheriff's department in currently Broward County or Miami-Dade Police. But, these things don't necessarily always wind up being reported. So let me come over to the comments. George is confirming it sounds like it was the boyfriend. So not always the best. Tony, the show must go on. I'm trying to think, like, if somebody's to come and tackle me, like, knock me out of my chair while I'm giving this presentation, I'm not sure that I would actually be able to return back and keep a good whereabout with me. I think all of my ideas and my thoughts would probably be out the window. So I'm not sure that that would work for me very good. And Nancy, as much as I wish that it was part of the act, it was not part of the act. I mean, to make national news like that, I hope that it wasn't for all those news agencies to get it wrong and then the magicians say the bad things about the cruise line. Hopefully that's not the case, but the show must go on, and hopefully it's not. George, I will agree with you. There was definitely alcohol of some kind involved. On weekend sailings, I think I've only been on one cruise where it was a belligerent crowd or a rowdy crowd. And so this is back when we had Club Red, which we have again now, but pre-COVID. There was one particular cruise where I went to the party at Club Red, and it wasn't even that late. I think it was like 12:30. And there were a series of fights that continued to break out on the dance floor to the point that, they finally just said, go home, everyone, go to bed. We're not doing this anymore. Like, if you're not going to stop fighting, we're turning the music off. All the lights came on, and the event was done at, I think, like 12:30 at night, when it's meant to go much later than that. But they just could not, for whatever reason, stop fighting. I don't know what was on, but that is the only time that I've really seen a lot of fights, and maybe the only time I've seen any fights for a weekend sailing on Royal Caribbean. It's not really a thing for us to come and fight here. Not saying that it doesn't happen. I just haven't necessarily always seen that. Michael coming in with, he should have been kicked off the ship. I'm not going to disagree with this. I think that if you come aggressively at any of the performers, any of the crew, any of the staff, I think there needs to be swift and strong consequences to that, because that's just not something that should even be remotely entertained. Even if you don't physically assault the person, if you were speaking so violently to this person, I think that that also should require you to have certain levels of consequences to those actions. Oh, and that would have been funny, George, if talk about, if you don't stop doing this, we're going to turn this ship around, or turn the car around, as some may. But not in this case. They just, without warning, kind of shut it down on us. So that is the first thing that's happening in cruise news. The second thing is the Royal Caribbean Beach Club at Paradise Island in Nassau. Now, the Paradise Island Beach Club, not a new concept. It's been around for a while, actually, right? We've all kind of known that it was happening, yet here we are in 2023. It's not happened. It was originally announced in 2020 that they were going to, Royal Caribbean was going to take that little strip of land on the other side of the cruise port. So in between the mainland and Atlantis on the other side, and then you've got this long stretch where the lighthouse is, that they were going to take a portion of that and turn it into this beach club. So it was initially planned to be much larger than it is now. It has been scaled down some. And the current ETA of when that's going to be coming online for us to actually explore, it's going to be 2025. And so it's going to be facing the actual ocean. It's not going to be looking over at the cruise ships. Unfortunate. I think that would be my preference, to stare at the cruise ships all day, but I'm just odd like that sometimes. But it will be looking out at the ocean, and you're going to have cabanas, beach chairs, all sorts of things that I'm sure Royal Caribbean will pay, or have you pay a very hefty price to be able to sit in, especially knowing how small that area is going to be now. We're running, I think, between 2 and 3 Royal Caribbean ships in port at a time in Nassau when I've been here recently. So at minimum, there's been 2 Royal Caribbean ships, normally always an Oasis class. So there are a lot of ships that are going to have the opportunity to go there. But right now, the government signed off on it. Everything's kind of green-lit to go. But all of a sudden, it's making news again because you have some of the islands starting to raise a petition. They filed a formal motion saying that, and this I think is driven by Atlantis, which is going to lose some tourism from this, that, it's going to really drive people out of Nassau. So those people that may be getting off and going on an excursion, paying for something to do at a Bahamian company, is now just going to stay on the private island. They're going to jump over to the beach club. And so, Nassau's going to lose out on that revenue, or the Bahamas is going to lose out on that revenue. The second piece of this, and I don't know how big of a one this one is, but they're saying there's going to be a boat that's going to shuttle us from the pier in Nassau to this private island, and that's going to cause a lot of additional boat traffic that could really plug up the harbor here or the bay, and that's just going to not be a good situation for all the other working vessels that are coming and going. I don't really see that many working vessels coming and going, but I don't know how big this section is going to be and how many boats they're going to be running back and forth to do that. And so I've got a few issues with this entire strategy, if you will. And so it's being dubbed by a lot of people as, oh, this is going to be really great. This is going to be really cool. And I kind of look at it and think, you know what? This is going to be a missed opportunity for Nassau and for the Bahamas. And I just got back from Puerto Plata on a Virgin Voyages sailing, somewhere that I had not been before, and they have put a lot of work in the Dominican Republic in this port to give cruise passengers something to do at the actual port. Now, Nassau is building out a new port terminal, but I don't know how much more there's going to be to do here. So I would love if Nassau could, probably figure it out. This is always, something that a lot of us think that Nassau either isn't able to, can't figure it out, they get in their own way. I don't know what the reasons are. But I think that this would have been an amazing opportunity for Nassau and the community here to build out this private island. If they think that this is a good idea, I don't know why they just didn't do it when they were doing the reconstruction or building out of the new terminal here at Port Nassau. And that way they can keep some of the revenue, they can keep some of the experience, and it becomes a Bahamian thing to do, and it's not exclusive to just Royal Caribbean. There are a lot of other cruise companies and cruise lines that come to Nassau, and they're not going to be able to take part in this. And so I just don't know how that's going to play out. My biggest fear, and I'm, kind of weird probably in this respect, thinking of the culture of the Bahamas. So when you come on a weekend sailing, I'll use that as an example, that's where I'm at often. You come to Nassau and you go to Coco Cay. When you're at Coco Cay, you are not getting any culture, any heritage of the Bahamas. You don't learn anything about the Bahamian people. You don't really interact with them. You may go to the straw market, but everything there that you're going to see, do, feel, and touch is the Royal Caribbean experience and the Royal Caribbean private island. You're going to get to experience Bahamian beaches and the beautiful water that's here, but you're not going to get to actually know what it's like to be in the Bahamas, because you pick that island up, move it over into the Pacific, and you're still going to have the same exact experience. Royal Caribbean and other cruise lines intentionally want to control the experience at these private islands to ensure that you have a good time, but that means that it's kind of sterilized and that you don't actually get to experience a true way of going to the Bahamas. And so I'm just not a fan. I think it's a real big missed opportunity for Nassau. I'll be interested to see where it actually wind up going, but that's just some of my food for thought. Let's come over to the comments and see what you all are kind of thinking as, do you like this private island? I mean, private islands are always nice. It's very set, but you've got other things that you can do here as well. I'm curious what you all are thinking. And Thomas, I'm going to agree that Nassau does need something. I am personally a big advocate of Nassau, but I understand why people aren't getting off the cruise ship. I mean, I don't know what the actual numbers are. I'd have to guess. It's probably 50% of people do not get off of the cruise ships. And I think just a few weeks ago, they had their largest day here ever, which was 27,000 people in Nassau. Huge amounts of people. And if all of those people actually did get off the ship, there's nowhere for them to go. There's nothing for them to do. Every establishment would be packed. And I think that, they're really missing out on an opportunity to make cruise line passengers feel more welcomed, give us things to do, and for people that come here often, because most cruise lines stop here, not to have to feel like we need to do an excursion every time, just to get off, walk around, go to a restaurant, go to a bar, go into some of the shops and see what's around here. But they really haven't honed in on how to do that, and so most people are staying on the ship. George, yep, sounds like that feedback is spot on everything that I'm hearing as well. Most people that have been here a few times don't get off. You'll even see there was somebody asking for comments in the Facebook group for Freedom of the Seas that I responded to. And she wanted to know what's there to do in Nassau. I don't want to spend a lot of money. I just want to go out and enjoy myself. And I'm always amazed at the number of people that say, don't even bother, stay on the ship. That's the best thing that you can do. When there are plenty of great free things that you can do, including the self-guided walking tour. If you've not checked out that video or not done that in Nassau, make sure you're checking that out. It is very cheap. You're not going to get all the history because I don't personally know all the history and didn't share that in the video. So it's not a guided tour, but you still get to see and kind of learn as you go. So it'll be, James is asking if the beach club is going to be CocoCay 2.0. I don't think that it's going to be 2.0. I think that it's probably going to look and feel a lot like Chill Island, if I had to guess. They're not going to be able to do a water park, put a flow rider over there, any of that stuff. I think that it's just going to be the Chill Island section of Royal Caribbean's Perfect Day at CocoCay. That's probably all that. The island, I mean, actually, if I was on the other side of the ship, I could show you the island and how big it is. It is narrow, you all. Like, there is not much space at all over there. So when they start building this, I mean, I hope that they're able to leave some of the palm trees, some of the greenery, and make it feel like you're actually on a little bit of an island if they do wind up moving forward with this. But it's not a lot of space to work with at all. Tony, it's going to be different than the beach club because it's not going to have a pool. I imagine there will be probably limited food options over there. All the renderings and drawings that I've seen of it, again, it is just small. So I think that it's going to be a lot of lounge chairs, lots of cabanas, and maybe a few things to do, but they're really going to focus in on, a relaxing experience versus, a higher end experience with more things to do. This is going to be a great question. So if Royal Caribbean does build this beach club, Michael, how much is it going to cost? I mean, you all are already seeing the amount of money to get into the CocoCay Beach Club. And so that already has plenty of things to do in and around it, all for, complimentary with your cruise fare. So if they are now building this exclusive kind of event thing that you can do at Nassau, it's going to cost more than that. I can't imagine that it's going to be cheaper than CocoCay Beach Club, which is going for $90 to, I think I've seen all the way up to $130, $140 per person to get into the beach club. This is going to have attenders for it. You're going to have to get food over there, and it's going to have less number of people. So, I mean, it's anybody's guess at this point, Michael, how much that's actually going to cost us. Thomas, I've actually never done a all-inclusive resort before. Something that I have been interested in, but I've never really gravitated towards it for whatever reason. I've just always kind of made myself here on the ship. Mitchell, hello. Never a problem being late. I know last time you had to watch the replay with us, but welcome back. And Thomas saying Costa Maya is the only place that they stay on the ship. Costa Maya is an interesting one because you can't get off and just walk somewhere. So you come into Mahahual, Mexico, and it's got a little bit of a port. There is a beach thing to do there, kind of, but Puerto Plata is executed, I think, much better because in Costa Maya, everything feels really tight, condensed. It's just not as fun of an experience going through there as it was in Puerto Plata. And so I totally see why you stay on the ship there. If you did leave the port area, you have to jump on the little shuttle trolley or whatever it is to get over to the downtown area, and that's where they've got some really cool beaches. That's where I like to go there, but I can totally see why you would stay on. Minnie, I wish that I could do a live with Emma. Me and her actually do chat from time to time, surprisingly. And last time I did a live stream, she actually showed up in the comment section. And so I was able to feature a few of her comments. It is not the same as doing a live with her, but it was still a really neat experience. I'm always very humbled when creators that I think a lot of, that I think are going about their YouTube channel in all the right ways and doing such a fantastic job, even know who I am, let alone take the time to join the live stream last time. So if you're not following Emma Cruz's on YouTube, make sure that you go and do that. I know many of you probably have seen her stuff already, but she is fantastic, and I hope to be Emma when I grow up. Half Moon K and MSC's Private Islands, yes, they are both free, Thomas. Same with Perfect Day Coco K. Perfect Day Coco K is technically free. There's always upgrades and cabanas and water parks and things like that at Coco K that you can get. Same with MSC. I think that they may have some cabanas and things like that that you can get for an additional cost. If you want to go up in the lighthouse at their Marine Reserve, that's also an additional cost. So there's always going to be something that you can spend money on with a cruise line. Good to know that they're learning from Costa. I don't know who was the first in the private island kind of concept, or, oh no, you're saying the ports. So hopefully they learned from Costa Maya, because it looks like Puerto Plata is very new. And they've still got some construction going on over there, but I really liked Puerto Plata's port. Walking around Puerto Plata, a little bit different of a story. Not as easy just to kind of find some stuff. Hey there, Mr. Sam. Welcome to the chat. And Thomas, this is one that's going to be really interesting coming up. There's apparently a massive seaweed blob that's out that I think they said it was the width of the U.S. or the dimensions of the U.S. somehow. That it is massive, and it's coming towards Florida. I imagine that, if it's coming up on the Atlantic side, it's going to encounter the Bahamas first. And so I'll be very curious to see how Coco K works with a seaweed blob attack. I don't know what's going to happen there. But I am not a huge fan of getting in with jellyfish or with seaweed. I've only been stung once, luckily, by a jellyfish that was on my Mediterranean cruise. Little tiny guy got hold of me. No fun at all. Tony, I am not familiar with what the Captain Hudson plushie is. Is that kind of like my little plushie here? I'm assuming that it is, but I don't know what the Captain Hudson plushie is. I don't think I've ever noticed this one, Mitchell, that you can see the propellers from the cruise, I guess I don't know if you're on the land or if you're looking out from the cruise ship, but that would be kind of neat if you were actually able to see the propellers down there, the ozopods and how they act. That would actually be really, really neat. And Adam confirming Puerto Plata is very new. It opened only in December 2021. It is Emma's Hudson. I have not ordered Emma's Hudson. I'll have to look into that one of these days and see if I can't trade some merch so I can come and show everybody what she's up to. All right, so let's move on to ship Wi-Fi. This is one that's making really good headways, and I think for good reasons. So I am hearing across the Royal Caribbean fleet and Celebrity that Starlink is not really being that saving grace that we thought it was going to be. Even on Friday, I was walking past guest services, and there's 3 women going on a tirade about how horrible the internet is here on Liberty of the Seas. And I'm hearing similar stories like this across the fleet. And now look, it's spring break right now on Liberty of the Seas and many other cruise lines, except Virgin Voyages. They're one of the exceptions to it's not spring break on Virgin Voyages. But here, we've got a ton of kids. I think the number was like 1,400 people that were 18 and under, and then another 500 people or 400 people that are 21 to 18. And so we're looking at 1,800, 1,900 people out of what do we hold on Liberty? 2,400 total passengers that are under the age of 21. And you know they all use a cell phone better than most of us. And so last year, I remember when we had OB3, which is the older technology before Starlink, that during spring break, like it just was shot. There is no way you're going to get good reception at sea during spring break. Unfortunately, we were getting really, really bad results prior to spring break. And so I've been averaging here on Liberty, I think this is my third weekend in a row here. We've been averaging about like 1.5 megabits of download speed and only around 0.7 of upload speed to 0.8 megabits of upload speed, which is atrocious. I mean, if you're at home, you're getting literally 100 times, if not 1,000 times faster speeds than what we're getting here. The only saving grace for this live stream is the fact that I bring a hotspot on for the Bahamas, and I'm able to tap into the cell reception here like a Bahamian citizen was, so I get a little bit better of reception, and that allows me to be able to go live and chat with you all, which is, by the way, becoming one of my new favorite pastimes, is coming on here and getting to know you all more. I really enjoy these lives. You'll notice, I think this is my third one I've done at 4 p.m. on either Saturday or Sunday. I do it when Liberty of the Seas is based in Nassau because I get better reception on my hotspot here than I do in Coco Cay. I tried doing it last weekend. Actually, I've done it twice. I didn't do last weekend. I tried doing last weekend, and we did the premiere instead because I could not even get the hotspot to really work over in Coco Cay. Now, why is internet so bad? The Starlink antennas that they put at the very forward section of this ship, I think there are 8 of them. Maybe there's 12 of them. There's a good number of them. Each one of those takes a massive volume of bandwidth. And we used to see speeds of 40, 50, 100 megabits of download speed. It used to be amazing when it first rolled out. And then all of a sudden, across the fleet, it just starts tanking. And so I think this is where Royal Caribbean is, really, it's cutting cost. They are charging a crazy amount of money for the internet. It is going for $13.99 a day up to about $22.99 per day for a full voyage. And it is very, very expensive, especially if you're doing a 7-night or longer sailing. Very expensive. And you're delivering a really poor product. I don't know what they can do about it. It's a catch-22 for them, right? They want to make all the revenue and cut as many expenses as they can. But I hate to see the service so degraded that, you're making the guest services team life really difficult because people are continually complaining about they're paying all this money and they're not getting it. They're not even getting close to what they thought they were going to be getting with the fastest internet at sea. Fastest internet at sea, it's not fast. And Royal Caribbean is certainly probably, no, I've got to find a better way to say that, is not the fastest internet at sea anymore, I don't think. I think Princess has put a lot of effort into what they've been doing. There's the people I hear from over there talk about the internet is wonderful, but where we've seen Starlink, Royal Caribbean is absolutely throttling the bandwidth. They are not paying for all that amazing service that we used to have. And so we're just seeing really, really poor results. So for those of you that want to come to a ship and work, if you're on VPN, it's certainly not going to work. But if you want to come here and work during the day, know that you're going to really struggle, and make sure that you have backup and alternate options if that is something that you're going to want to do. The downstream impact to this, and this is probably the more frustrating one for me, is I've got a Bahamas hotspot. I go through Alive, which is kind of like their T-Mobile here, if you will. BTC, the Bahamian Telecommunications, is their biggest one. I've got the Alive system, ALIV, and it's been working well. But because so many people now are finding that the Wi-Fi it's not that great on the ship. They're now switching over to the cell towers in Nassau and in Coco Cay. They're like, you know what? It's cheaper for me just to pay the $10, the $15 to Verizon, get an unlimited day pass, than it is to pay for the internet here. And I'll just forego it from 6 p.m. to when I wake up and we come back into port. I'm just going to forgo the internet. I don't need it during those. I'll have it majority of the time when we're here in port, which is traditionally about 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. you're going to have reception, and they're good with that. But it is killing my Bahamas cell towers because there's so many people, 27,000 on the max days, that are now choosing to go to the cell towers, and they're overloaded here in the Bahamas. And so my speeds there have really struggled. It is better than what I'm seeing on ship Wi-Fi, but it is not ideal. All right, so those are my thoughts on the Wi-Fi. How many of you have actually been on a cruise ship recently? What's your experience? I am always looking for where is the best Wi-Fi because I like to get on here. I like to upload videos. I like to do some pretty heavy intensive stuff, and I can't always do that on Starlink these days. So if you know of better solutions, please let me know in the comments. I would welcome those thoughts. All right, let's go through some of these comments. Looks like you all were busy this time around. So Sam, this is one that I've heard from a few folks, is that they went to Wonder of the Seas expecting this amazing experience, and they came away not liking Wonder of the Seas at all. You're saying that it's loud. There's 1,200 kids. 1,200 kids, honestly, is not probably a lot for Wonder of the Seas, but the way that they flow the kids, I think that it creates probably a little bit of an issue. You even had your Apple Watch. I didn't know Apple Watches, by the way, I'm an Android user, don't tell anybody, would let you know if you're in an environment that it's too loud. That's probably actually quite handy on a cruise ship. But yeah, I've heard a lot of people going to the Wonder recently that are not having a good time, and they're swearing off of Oasis class ships because it's just, it's too much. So I am not the only one hearing that Starlink is poor. Starlink is not prime time for cruise ships at all, Adam. And Mitchell, if you're talking about the Wi-Fi here was not good a while ago, you know what? I can't say that it's going to be any better this go round if you come back to the sailings soon. And Sam, yeah, our numbers here on a weekend sailing in spring break, they go crazy. If you remember, I made a video last year on spring break. We had an entire college cruise takeover, if you will. They had basically 80% of the ship. I forget the name of the group that was here. They were actually extremely well behaved. I got to meet the organizers of this college cruise party, might be what it was called. They were really great kids. I say kids, they're college students. They were really great people, and the organizers were really wonderful to talk with and get to know. So I was very complimentary to them that, like, thank you for, I don't know if they pick them, they interview them, but they set the right groundwork or framework for them to come on this cruise to where it was not problematic for us other cruise passengers. If anything, I heard more cruise passengers joining in their fun and enjoying the college students than I heard people complaining about all the college students. And Thomas, this is definitely something, the first one that I did for Starlink, keeping the door open does help. Somebody actually even mentioned in the comments the other day, and I hadn't thought about this, but if you have, like, I'm in a junior suite for this one, so I've had the junior suite closet door or the bathroom door open in your room, that's adding additional pieces of metal in between you and the point of access out in the hallway for that signal to come in. So it makes it even worse. And so it's not uncommon for people to walk past my door and see me standing there with the door open, me in the crack of the door, trying to get my cell phone to work or to process something where it's just not loading well. Hey there, Rayleigh with Creative Travel. Welcome on board. O3B is launching newer satellites. I wonder if they're coming up with a competitive solution to go against Starlink as well, Adam. That'll be really interesting. I don't think that when they installed Starlink that they uninstalled OB3. I think it's just a way that they're switching it or routing it right now. So if they become a competitive player in the market, maybe we could go back to them. At this point, I honestly believe that their service was better than Starlink, or at least what Royal Caribbean is buying from Starlink. It was better with O3B. Good to know that with at least the newer ships, they're putting those point of accesses in each cabin. This makes a huge difference because if it is outside of your room and it's down the hallway a little bit, there's a lot of metal, and metal is one of the worst things for onboard Wi-Fi. Thomas, I am in a junior suite this cruise. I love a good junior suite. I don't always get to do it, but I do. Oh, and Adam, hearing that Princess Internet is not good. I thought they were really touting that. I heard maybe it was after COVID that a lot of people were saying that it was really good. But it's kind of a shame that it hasn't taken off. Hey, Dino. I want to come and talk to you all. That's why I love the internet access. And I am, with social media and probably even before, a little addicted to checking my phone, getting things updated. And if nothing else, being a solo cruiser, it gives me something to do sometimes. I don't always feel like sitting around talking to people or just staring at them because I don't have anything to talk about. So it actually comes in as kind of a crux, if you will, to make me feel like I have company. Doesn't really work that way, but it gives me something to do. But always good to see you in the chat, Dino. So Mitchell, people have recommended this. So can you bring your own Starlink mobile device to a cruise ship? And the answer to that is you absolutely could. There's some downsides to it though. And Starlink just changed the name of their mobile router to, blanking on the name of it, but it is now like a mobile router that you can set up outside and it can connect to the satellites. Problem with that is it's not approved for maritime use at this point. So for whatever reason, I imagine that there's probably contractual agreements with cruise lines of some kind saying that, hey, if you're going to start building satellites that people can take with them, and they're quite compact, they're not big at all, it's going to need to be for land use only. Maritime, us cruise ship passengers, we cannot use it here. And so I don't know if the signal would be blocked, but that's something that's not going to look good, and they can always cancel your service. The second thing that comes to mind is those antennas need direct reception to the satellite. So if you're in an interior room, an ocean view room, if you do not have a balcony or higher, you're not going to be able to take that device outside and get it to connect to the satellite. You're also going to have to find a way to run power out there to get it to power to your balcony satellite. You could sit it on the coffee table, but again, you're surrounded on most sides by metal when you're out on your balcony. And if you happen to be on this side of the ship, satellites on this side of the ship, you're not going to get any reception whatsoever. Even today, I'm sitting over here looking at Independence of the Seas directly beside of me right now. Again, blocking my view to the skyline and to probably the Starlink satellite. So as great of an idea as that is, I don't think the execution there is going to work out too well. Joe, I will be there on May 8th. So my time here on Liberty of the Seas is coming to an end around this same time period in May. I think that might actually be my first sailing back on Freedom of the Seas. So you're going to have to look for me there. Pinnacle members saying they don't like the Wonder of the Seas. You know what? I didn't mind Wonder of the Seas. The Suite Lounge I thought was a nice touch, but apparently, and I've not been on there since its third sailing, that it's getting a lot of soot and things back there, that it's just not that great of an experience. Coastal Kitchen is always probably packed, and the Pinnacles, I imagine, can't get in there as often as they would like. But I thought that it was a well-done ship for a larger class Oasis style. The design of it itself was actually a design that I liked. Of the Oasis classes, it is my favorite Oasis class, which you all know that I'm not a huge Oasis person. Yes, Michael, this 100%. I hope that they hear you, but they're not spending a lot of money these days, it seems. They need to update their point of access and their internal network for Starlink inside the ship. So even if you have all this amazing bandwidth coming down, if you can't get that signal into my room, we're going to have an issue. And Paul, yes, Freedom is not doing that great with Starlink either. I don't know why it's having such an issue. If you did several Zoom meetings and you were able to make that work for you, that is awesome. But I mean, I personally don't think that I would try to go live with you all on ship Wi-Fi right now. I don't think that it's too risky, and my anxiety, these lives get me worked up for some reason. I want everything to look right, do right, and I've had some faux pas where I've messed up. I haven't done things the way that I should have in setting up all this technology. I'm slowly getting the hang of it, but I always get a little bit stressed. Well, hey there, Howie Cruz. Good to see you here. Brian and Julie, welcome to the channel. Let's see, who else do we have in here? Now, so Thomas, looks like you're 5 hours from Galveston, 6 hours from NOLA. You are definitely getting a lot of new ships to Galveston. There was an article just this week actually on how it's seeing explosive growth. I mean, everybody's putting their newest and best ships over there. And they're selling the ships. I mean, so it is certainly still an untapped market on the growth that can come from there. And inside looking out, let me look at my spreadsheet, see if I am here when you are here. Where am I on 417? That is a midweek cruise. No, that's a Monday sailing. I am here for 14, but I am not here on Monday for that midweek cruise. As much as I would like to be, I am not going to be here then, unfortunately. Thomas, glad to hear that the reception is coming through well. No issues there. That is awesome. Always glad to see that, we're having a successful live stream. All right, so let's get into the solo cruiser deal. And so you all know that I love a good deal. You probably can't tell it from the junior suite behind me, but I'm trying to pull back on how much I'm spending on cruises. And so with that, I'm going the exact opposite extreme. And so sometimes my life is a life of extremes, if you will, such as going on a weekend sailing just about every weekend. But I found a tremendous deal that I could not pass up. And unfortunately, it's on another cruise line. And I don't even know if you all will see this one coming. I think most of you probably are guessing Celebrity, Virgin. They're not running a lot of great deals right now. But what I did find was weekend sailings in January, February, and March of 2024 on the MSC Magnifica. Now, I've been on the MSC Divina for a weekend sailing. The MSC Magnifica is going to be doing really good itineraries for their weekend sailings in January, February, and March at the end of this year. So these sailings are going to be going to Nassau, the private island, their marine reserve, which I really, really like. I still remember the ice cream that I had at their private marine reserve with MSC. So I'm excited to go back there, and I think the beach is absolutely beautiful there. Very, very nice sand, nicer sand than Coco Cay. So I love going over this. It's going to be really relaxing. But there's like every other sailing, every third sailing maybe, is also going to go to Key West. And so I am super excited to have a cruise ship on a weekend sailing that's going to go to Key West on Saturday, Sunday, the MSC Private Reserve, and then come back to Miami. And so I booked 8 of these, you guys. Like I booked 2 months worth over January, February, and March because it was such a good deal. So hear this. This is the average of those 8. I did the numbers on this. I spent about $215, $220 per weekend sailing before taxes. And then for some reason on MSC, their taxes are a flat $75. That is all that you pay. Here on Royal Caribbean, my taxes for a weekend cruise are at least $113, $115, if not even longer for some sailings, or excuse me, even more for some longer sailings. But for all in, $300 per sailing on MSC as a solo cruiser in an interior cabin. That's still going to come with all the status matching benefits. If you haven't seen the status matching video for MSC and you're looking at these sailings, make sure you do that. Their benefit program is actually really good. I get a bottle of champagne, a whole tray of macarons, which are amazing. You get a cup of free gelato. You're even going to get your first night a free specialty restaurant, which is their sushi restaurant. They give you like a little bento sampler box, which was more than enough food, and it was really good. And you get all these on the weekend sailings. There's no limitation on how long that sailing needs to be. So I'm really excited to be spending a little bit more time over on MSC. The biggest question that I get on MSC is, is it a good sailing? And that's really something I'm going to try to figure out. I've done one on it so far. I've got another one coming up next month. But for the dollars, for the price, I mean, it's going to be a wonderful sailing. For $300 all in, it is going to be an amazing cruise at that price. I mean, yeah, you can go somewhere and spend more money and get a better experience, but you're having to pay a lot more than that. And is it worth it in the end of the day? For me to come over to Royal Caribbean would have been an extra $300 for an interior cabin for a same sailing that was going to Nassau and Coco Cay. I'd much rather go to Key West than Nassau. I don't know about you all, but that would absolutely be my preference. As much as I love Nassau, and I just said amazing things about it at the beginning of this, Key West right now is a better spot to go. So I am really excited to be going to Key West, checking that out, and spending some time with MSC. So let's come back over to the comments. What do you guys think about MSC, or what are you hearing? I mean, I'm kind of looking forward to be somewhere else. So it'll kind of be my home ship a little bit for the first part of next year. And so I'm looking forward to really getting into MSC and seeing what all it is they have to offer. I love it. If you're booking something, let me know. We'll see what we can do. I always love meeting people when I can. So George, the Seascape, I wish that they were doing this on the Seascape, Seaside, Seaview. Those ships, I've seen them in the wild, which means I've seen them out in the water floating. They look fantastic on the outside, and I've heard really good things about their setup on the inside. And again, for the price, basically you buy a 7-night cruise, they're giving you a free balcony room in a weekend sailing, is what you're getting out of here. So, I mean, not bad at all there on the pricing. John, I look forward to seeing you there. I wish that they would do it year-round, but they only do it for certain seasons. But MSC is absolutely making a play for the Americans market, and I think that they're learning weekend sailings. It's a good way to do that. Tom, Vacations to Go is my personal search engine of choice. I use it very, very frequently. And they do have a way that you can search and see single rates. It's one of the very few that does that. And it is a search aggregator. So if you were looking for, you don't really know what cruise line you want to go on, or you're like me at this point, and you're a little bit more agnostic, you don't mind trying something new. As much as I may come to Royal Caribbean for my initial look, I'm open to other sailings and other cruise lines. And so it is a great spot to say, okay, here's the date that I want to go. What are my options? What can I do? And it's really helped me piece together some wonderful cruise vacations. Celebrity Summit is, it's actually not doing 3-night sailings though here, Sam. Those are 4-night sailings it's going to be doing this year. I'm actually on a few of those. I had one in January that I unfortunately had to cancel. Oftentimes, it will go to Key West as well. So I am booked on just about every single one of them as long as Friday is not a sea day. If Friday is a sea day, I can't make that sailing. I can only do it for the ones where we're in port because I'm going to need to use the Wi-Fi on those days. But I highly recommend those. I'm super excited to get more in tune with Celebrity. I just finished my first one in South America. I think it was a 13 or 14 night sailing, my longest one yet. And so I'm really excited. That extra night, as much as I love a weekend sailing, adding that extra night from Thursday to Monday morning makes a huge difference in the experience that you're going to have, and you get to unwind one more additional day. So I've got some of those booked as well. How we cruise, definitely let me know when you go. I might be on the Divina. They do some weekend sailings, but if you can, get on one of their newer ships. I want to see somebody really go out there and show us their newer ships. I'd be interested to see how those go. All right, so those are all my notes. I did really good. We were right at the hour mark. I don't have anywhere to be. I can head on up to the lounge. It just opened at 5 o'clock here. Hang out with the concierge, always one of my fun things to do. We have an amazing crew on Liberty of the Seas. Let me just say, I've been here several times now, and you all knew that I hated to leave Freedom. I had great relationships with them, but luckily, the crew here's giving Freedom a run for their money. Like, there's some really good people and strong talent that they have on board Liberty of the Seas. So super excited to be here on Liberty of the Seas. Still probably not my most favorite ship as far as amenities and things to do, but I am enjoying my time here, make no doubt. So let me open it up to questions. See if you all just have anything that's on your mind, anything you want to discuss. But it kind of concludes my talking points. Glad to stay on a little bit longer if you all have some questions or things you want to talk about. By the way, last time I went live, I was talking about the water in the room with no cookies. Again, this time, no cookies, and I only got 3 waters. Like, I'm getting less waters now under the new you get more water policy than I was getting before. So I don't, again, royal math sometimes really confuses me on when they say I'm getting more and I manage to keep getting less of something. I don't always understand that. So, George, Key West is objecting to cruise ships calming down. You know, this is interesting. During COVID, and I think it even started before COVID, they passed a ballot referendum saying they didn't want cruise ships anymore. Key West did as a city. And so there were certain restrictions on what ships could go to Key West and which ones could not. There was a capacity limitation. It said if your ship holds more than X number of people, we don't want you anymore. We're good. Like, you're ruining our city. And they passed that law and it was in place. And I don't know what ever came from that. The last that I heard from that, the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, was going, Key West, I don't think you should do that. You're not going to do that. And I think that he may have come in and either overturned it, put some pressure on it. I'm not really sure what happened or how that finally played out. The ships that are going there, I know, is it Grandeur of the Seas was just there this past weekend. MSC Magnifica is a smaller ship as well. The Summit is a smaller and older ship. I'm not hearing of any of the big girls heading over there. So I think the size restriction may still be in place, but they're just not equipped to handle that many people. If you're docking in Mallory Square, it is a wonderful place to see the sunset, to get off the ship, and you are literally right in the heart of downtown Nassau. So I am a huge fan of cruises that go to Nassau, so I hope that they don't do that. But I understand if the people there think that it is not aiding to their way of life and they want to not allow us to go, I will completely understand that and get on board with it. Mitchell, this is one of the biggest questions that I get from MSC and something that I really hope to dive into. The one sailing that I went on, I don't think did it true justice, but MSC is a European cruise line. It's the Mediterranean Shipping Company. They've been around for ages, and they've actually got a really big fleet of ships that are out there. And the biggest thing that people come back saying, and they're like, oh, you're going to like it, but they do things the European way. Well, what does that even mean, the European way? Like, I go to Europe plenty of times. I've probably spent more time over there than I should. But I don't know what it's more European kind of means. When I went there, I was absolutely fine with the Divina for the 3 nights that I was there, but I'm hoping, I'll probably even make a video on this exact topic, Mitchell, on what does that mean and what can you expect if that's what you're thinking, or disprove some of the myths of that's not necessarily the case. I think people, you know, when they think of MSC, they say, well, the food's not of great quality. Well, if I wanted to spend $600 more to go on a different sailing, I would expect that. But at $300 a pop, I'm good with the food they're serving. It's not anything to write home about, but it's decent enough. Um, and so the singers and dancers shows was actually really good. That's one thing I still remember that surprised me was the talent that they had on board was really good from that perspective. The cruise ship did look a little bit dated when I was there, but this is only one of their older ships. Some can say the same about, let's say, Liberty of the Seas, for instance. So I'm not sure that's a fair comparison, but I'm hopeful, Mitchell, to come out and give more on that. And this is called intraport. So it is a term that actually Royal Caribbean uses as well. So people always coming and going on your cruise ship. I don't see that on the 3-day cruise. There's probably just not enough time for them. But if you're doing a 7-night cruise in the Mediterranean, especially with MSC and even some Royal Caribbean ships, some people are going to get on Sunday. Some people may get on Wednesday at the next port, and they're going to stay on for a week each time. It is a very interesting one. I've not done one before. One of the things I like about a cruise ship is that when I get on, everybody else gets on at the same time with me. So I'm not meeting, some wonderful people, making amazing friends, and then they go home the next day and I'm stuck for the next 7 days trying to make new friends. Like everybody's here for the same amount of time, and it gives us a sense of community that we're all in this together. And so that's one reason why, I probably haven't done all-inclusives. That's one of the reasons that I don't like them. But it's the same with the intraport. It's an odd experience. Hey there, Castaway Goes. You're coming in 2024. Is there a Diamond Lounge? There is. So the Diamond Lounge here, luckily, is really, really nice. So this ship has not gone through the amplification process. So the furniture up there's nothing to write home about. But when they amped the Freedom of the Seas, that Diamond Lounge went downstairs. So it is now in the old library aficionado room on Freedom of the Seas. It's not in a great location, honestly. So on Liberty of the Seas, it is still upstairs. You have beautiful views upstairs. You've got an outdoor space overlooking the sports court. It is a great place to hang out. They've got the coffee machines. You've got your Diamond Concierge to help you out. So they absolutely do have that, and it is a great spot to be. Tap water is not good to drink, Mitch. I don't know where you're referencing there. This is just some of the free water that I got on the cruise ship. But I also, since I only have 3 of them, this is my last one. I have also been supplementing. I've got my mixers and elixirs over here up on the top shelf that I use the tap water from the ship. There is nothing wrong with the tap water on the ship. To my knowledge, it tastes fine. It drinks fine. I don't get sick from the tap water on the ship, at least. So I think it's always decent enough to drink. Hey, Minnie, I will do a separate video of the room tour. I've got a whole, I'll take a picture of this and post it to Instagram. I've got a whole technology setup going on right now. So my desk has 2 lights on it, a side monitor, my laptop. I've got the camera directly in front of me. So it is wires going everywhere. So you don't want to see the room right now, but I'll do a whole separate tour on this stateroom. It's actually a really nice stateroom, so I'll give it a whirl. I've got 2 more staterooms that are also in the hopper that I need to do and get out, but we'll certainly get there. I've got an ocean view panoramic suite, one of those without a balcony up at the front, that's getting ready to go. And I don't know if you all can hear the Disney ship. She's getting ready to sail out back to Port Canaveral, I imagine. And so she is sounding her little call that she is leaving. Joe, I will be there on May 8th, and I'll see you at the Schooner Bar. If you always see me around, you all do a better job of recognizing me in person than I recognize seeing you in person, but I always love meeting people from the channel when we go. If you are coming from the ship and you are going to be working, what I would tell you is work on the days that you are in port. That way, if something goes wrong, the Wi-Fi is not getting you where you need to be, you need some extra support, test it out before. And if you already know the Wi-Fi is not going to be a great option, if you're in port, at least you can get off the ship and go to a hotel, a coffee shop. You can go somewhere else to get Wi-Fi and be able to work. But when you are at sea, you are only on the ship Wi-Fi, just with all 3,000 other of your friends that are on the ship, and that signal might not be the best in the world. I personally would not trust working from the ship Wi-Fi only at this point. I would always want to make sure that I have a very solid backup plan. The Schooner Bar is, I don't go to the Schooner Bar actually. I go there more than I go to the Bull and Bear Irish pub. But I don't normally go to the Schooner Bar. I'll do the singers and dancers. I'll do the ice skating team. I don't normally do Schooner too often. I don't mind going there. It's a great spot. They've got a good bar that I probably could cozy up to with no issue. I just have not done that yet. Americans do tend to want huge portions of food. Our portion sizes are different than Europeans. I don't recall getting my food and being like, gosh, well, that's not a lot. I don't remember that happening when I was on MSC, but I remember my food. I had some plantains, some rice, some chicken. It was quite good, actually. All right, so that looks like I'm all caught up with the questions here. Thank you all for tuning into today's live. It is always a pleasure to come on here, get to know you all some, and happy sailing. And this is Brandon, the Weekend Cruiser, hoping to see you on a weekend sailing soon. Thanks, everyone.